Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Mission Matters Marketing Podcast, your source for all things marketing. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres. Keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so today I have Brad Schlachter on the line, and he's a marketing consultant and fractional CMO. Brad, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me.
All right, so excited to get into today's topic. So we're going to talk about the importance of having a differentiated brand positioning strategy and ways that people can grow their audiences cost effectively. So big topics, lots of business owners, entrepreneurs, and executives listening to this right now, and I know they're going to get a lot of value out of it. But before we get into that, let's talk a little bit more about what you're doing as a marketing consultant and fractional CMO to your clients. So tell us a little bit more about your business, please.
Sure. I've been in marketing for a long time, and I've worked for lots of companies. Early in my career, I worked for a lot of big companies like Disney and Major League Baseball and Hallmark. But more recently, I've been working with a lot of startups and early stage startups as well. So I really help companies, with their digital marketing strategy, with coming up with customer acquisition strategies, global branding, and really helping companies, grow and scale their business cost effectively.
That's awesome, and I think that's a great transition. So let's just jump right into today's topic. So having a differentiated brand positioning strategy and growing an audience cost effectively. I mean, big topics. Where do you want to start with this one?
Sure. Look, it's interesting because, back when I worked for bigger companies like Hallmark and Disney, let's say, more traditional companies, brand positioning was always really the most important thing that you needed to focus on, and really it helps define your overall strategy and really guides it. More recently, as I've worked with startups, I find that a lot of startups, not all, but some startups, once they get funded, they immediately try to go from that early phase to when they get funding to then immediately trying to scale their business. And sometimes they really don't spend a lot of time or really any time on the brand positioning and making sure they're clearly defining, what their value proposition is, what's different and better about their product or their service. And so I think it's something that, people don't seem to be paying attention to quite as much as they used to, and they really should be, because before you start driving traffic to your product or service, you really need to ideally have it framed through a brand positioning strategy that's going to really make sure you're conveying what's different and better and converting, so you're converting your customers at the highest rate possible.
I love it, and I think You're completely right, number one. So once upon a time when budgets, when I would argue a lot of technology has to do with this too, is that when technology was much more expensive, when it was a luxury to think about brand positioning or things like that used to be a luxury that only big brands could think about. But now with so many different services and ways to be able to do that, even at the startup phase, even pre-business, there's just so many ways to do things now in a very cost-effective way. I just think that that can't be overlooked anymore.
Yeah, and so what I've helped companies do is, and it could vary, depending on a company's budget, but at a minimum, you want to make sure that you're doing, some type of a SWOT analysis. What are your strengths, weaknesses? What are the opportunities and threats? What is different and better about your product or service? You want to make sure you also are defining and understand what your brand tone and your personality is. What are your values? What's the brand values? Things along those lines. And if there's a mission for the company, great. And as I said, once you've taken the time to come up with that unique brand positioning and are able to clearly convey not only what is different and better about your product or service on a rational level, but also how you're going to connect with your audience on a more of an emotional level. And that's really where the tone and the personality, come into play. And both of those factors are really important. And then once you have that in place, then all the messaging you come up with, the brand positioning acts as a filter for all of your marketing communication, and that's going to guide you to make sure whatever you're conveying is consistent with your brand and is going to be differentiated and is going to resonate with your customer.
That's awesome. Let's switch it up a bit. So let's talk a little bit more about what it means and kind of ways that you've been able to help people grow audiences cost effectively, which is a big deal. Cost is always a big deal.
Sure. Yeah. And look, I've worked with all kinds of budgets. I started out earlier in my career when, a lot of products, even entertainment, I've done a lot of entertainment and technology products. But not too long ago, things like video games and music and movies were sold at retail. Obviously, all that stuff has gone online and on mobile. And so I've gone through that transition. But clearly for entertainment products, for digital products, technology-related industries, online is obviously the key. And I've worked with a lot of subscription-based companies as well as e-commerce and things like that. But I guess first and foremost, really what I always would emphasize to any company is you want to make sure you really have a solid foundation to build upon for getting traffic, getting quality traffic. And that starts with organic traffic and improving your SEO so that your organic search traffic, you can start to scale that and grow that, because that's traffic that you'll get month over month. It's really an investment in order to grow that. Whereas if you're running paid campaigns, that's great when you need to do that, and there's a place and time for running paid campaigns to really accelerate your marketing efforts. But once you stop running those paid campaigns, that traffic typically goes away. So I start with SEO and building that base of organic traffic and things like referral marketing and other things that are are more organic and viral in nature.
That's awesome. So Brad, if somebody's listening to this, what are the types of, and they're interested in following up and learning more. So what are the types of companies that you typically like to work with, whether it's industries or niches or otherwise?
Yeah, in general, I am flexible, but in general, my wheelhouse is in working with industries that are in, the entertainment space in some way. Either I've worked in the video streaming space, I've worked in the video gaming space, I'm working with music licensing companies, or technology, and I've done everything from mobile banking and fintech and other things. So, but certainly, I work with all kinds of companies, and you don't have to fit a specific industry or genre or vertical, to benefit from these types of strategies and tactics.
That's awesome. So Brad, what's the best way for people to reach out and to connect if they want more info?
Sure. I'm on LinkedIn, and I would encourage anyone who's interested in learning more to check out my profile on LinkedIn, and you can learn a little bit more about my experience there and some of my work. And I have an account where anyone can connect with me for free on LinkedIn.
Fantastic. Well, Brad, really appreciate you coming on the show today and sharing more about your background and all the great work you're doing, helping people out as a fractional CMO and helping them. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, leave me a review on the Apple iTunes Store, and if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, Mission Matters Marketing, definitely give us a subscribe there, but also leave us some comments in the video. I'd love to know what kind of projects and things that you're working on. And Brad, thanks again for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.